News Radio WAM 1180 welcomes you to the Seniors Rock Show. The Seniors Rock Show, a lively weekly discussion shedding a bright light on aging with fun, entertainment, and important info for all adults. Join us with your comments or questions. Call or text 222-1180 or 1-800-295-1180. Now, from the News Radio WAM 1180 studios in downtown Rochester, here's your host, Joanna Palvino.
Welcome to Seniors Rock Radio on this 9th day of March, 2024. And I have some interesting info as always. I'd like to open the show today by telling you that I found out that people across the country are observing something called National Get Over It Day. So just as it implies, the day is to do exactly that. Get over it. And I bet you, if you think about it, you probably have something you could let go. And maybe small things like spilled milk or traffic. We don't want to talk about traffic with me. I have an issue with that. Even news like if you got passed over for a promotion, say, or you got some poor grades in school, or maybe you got in an argument with a family member. That happens a lot. But those things shouldn't cause us to live our lives in a state of misery forever. So today is Get Over It Day. So we hope you'll do that. And, if you do that, you'll feel lighter than air. And speaking of air, Peter Gordon of Indoor Air Professionals is one of our guests today, Mike, and he's also got great info about getting clean air at home or at work. He helped me in our house, and we'll talk about that later. But he'll be here in the second half of the show to talk about how to help anyone get cleaner air, and it's really cool. But our first guest, we're going to have Agape Physical Therapy's Dr. Nicholas Antonio. We call him Nick, and he's the coordinator of the Chile Agape Physical Therapy Clinic. And he's going to join us right after the first break. But before that, we've got a busy show here. We've got estate planning attorney Mike Robinson and his word of the week. And I'm going to remind you, if you heard it last week, the overall theme that Mike talked about was procrastination. So my question to you, Mike, is, do you have a word to describe what you're thinking about this week?
Hey, Joanna, and happy Saturday. Actually, the first thing I want to say is I was very happy when you started speaking of air that you went to indoor air and didn't start talking about hot air. I thought that was going to be my introduction. So I appreciate
No,
that.
I would never say that about you. Never.
Actually, I have two words for this week, and they are supplemental needs. And I wanted to address an issue that I encounter with a fair degree of regularity. And it is an issue that, if not addressed properly, can really cause some issues for families. And what the issue is if there is someone, it could be a child, someone's grandchild, niece or nephew, who is receiving government benefits such as SSI. Could be a Down syndrome child or an autistic child, maybe somebody who suffered a traumatic brain injury. The issue is they can't have much in the way of assets. In fact, for SSI eligibility, an individual is limited to no more than $2,000 in assets. And if they have more than that, or if they come into more than that, they're going to lose their SSI eligibility and also any support services that are tied to the SSI eligibility. And Joanna, where I encounter this is where somebody well-meaning leaves an inheritance in their will or trust to a child or a grandchild, again, niece or nephew, who is receiving benefits. And typically those folks are referred to as a special needs beneficiary. And if someone leaves an amount to that individual upon their death, that individual is likely going to lose their government benefits. And that's, of course, a real problem. So is the solution to disinherit those people? Well, no, that's not a very good solution at all. But the law gives us a solution, and it's what we call a supplemental needs trust. And that's what we call it here in New York. In 49 other states, it's referred to as a special needs trust. It's the exact same animal, just a slightly different name. And these are trust arrangements that have been approved by both the federal government and the state government so that we can set aside an inheritance for someone in such a way that it's held for them. It's for their benefit to enhance their quality of life, to pay for things that the government won't pay for, but it's not considered theirs for purposes of determining their eligibility for their government benefits.
Hmm.
And so they don't lose the support services, they don't lose the SSI income, et cetera. But it is a way to make sure that there will be money there to enhance that person's quality of life and to cover things that the government won't pay for. And then when that individual passes away, if there's anything left in that trust, you get to say where it goes. It doesn't get taken away by some governmental agency. Now, having said that, though, I do need to make a distinction because there are two different types of supplemental needs trusts. There is what's called a third party supplemental needs trust and a first party supplemental needs trust. And the third party supplemental needs trust is what we were just speaking about, where somebody would be wanting to leave an inheritance to somebody through their will or trust. It isn't the special needs beneficiary's asset to begin with. It's coming to them through the inheritance. So that's what we would call the third party supplemental needs trust. And the important distinction between the two is what I mentioned a moment ago, that when that special needs beneficiary passes away, if there are any assets remaining in that trust for their benefit, the person who created the trust can specify where that money will go to. So it can stay in the family, it can go to a charitable organization. Again, it's whatever the client would want. The first party supplemental needs trust is used when that special needs beneficiary has assets of their own. And that can happen in a few different ways. If somebody does leave them an inheritance outright in their will or trust, they didn't set up a supplemental needs trust. Now that inheritance amount does belong to the special needs beneficiary, and without some further action, they're going to lose their eligibility for their benefits. The other way that that can come about is through the course of a lawsuit. If somebody was injured in some sort of circumstance and they receive an award because of that, there again, now they have money that they're entitled to, which is going to knock them off of their eligibility for SSI and other benefits. So
Hmm.
that person then, either they can or a parent, there's a few other people authorized in the law who can do this. They can create then what's called a first party supplemental needs trust. And so when the assets then are deposited into that first party supplemental needs trust, again, they are not counted as the special needs beneficiary's assets, so they can recover their SSI eligibility or avoid losing it at all. But the difference, Joanna, is that with a first party supplemental needs trust, when that special needs beneficiary passes away, if there are any assets still in that trust, the state has first dibs, if you will, on those assets, so that they are entitled to be repaid out of the trust assets for the benefits that they had provided to that special needs beneficiary during that beneficiary's lifetime. If there's anything left over at that point, then it can go back to the family. But typically in those situations, there isn't anything left over,
Hmm.
and so it is a way. It's not the ideal method because again, that possibly those assets ultimately can be lost, but at least there is a way to prevent the loss of benefits during that individual's lifetime.
Well, thank you so much for explaining that and I'm glad that you can do that because I sure couldn't. And folks, it just reminds me that you need to talk to an estate planning attorney about these things to be sure that you're being covered and that your assets are protected. Especially, Mike, I was thinking, we have Benefit Reps of America that come on the show. They're a sponsor. they work hard to get people their SSI eligibility. So, I hear that all the time. So I can't imagine losing it. That would be terrible. So it's an important teamwork thing, I think, here.
It really is, and you make a good point. It's not easy to get qualified for those benefits. Anybody who's been through the process knows it's very stressful. There's a lot of moving parts. It takes time. So, sure, you don't want to lose it once you've got it.
Totally. And I'm thinking, folks, if you're out there and you have a question and you think, oh, geez, or you think about it later, you can reach Mike through our seniorsrockradio.com page on the contact page. Go in there. We'll forward anything that you want to him and he can get back to you that way as well. So, again, if you didn't have a chance to talk to him today, you can always do that later through the Seniors Rock page. Also, if you have ideas for the show. So, Mike, thanks again for explaining supplemental needs trusts and some of the different facets of that. And again, an estate planning attorney is the person to talk to about that. So, thank you. And Mike, we're going to be right back. And guess who's coming on with us? Dr. Nicholas Antonio. He's back.
Ah,
And
yes.
yeah, great guy. And he's with Agape Physical Therapy's Chili location. So, folks, stay right there. And we're back. And you're listening to Seniors Rock Radio. I'm Joanna, your host. And if you've listened before, you probably know that our favorite physical therapy place is no secret. It's Agape Physical Therapy. And I have been a client or patient or whatever you want to call it there and have had great success. Today, Dr. Nicholas Antonio, or Nick, is here from the Agape PT Chili Clinic, and he's going to share his expertise about joint replacement surgeries, which ironically is why I was going, and the PT expectations that go along with those operations. And I know I didn't know what was going to happen, so it's something you need to know. And a lot of us are going through these things as we get older. So and Nick knows all about it, and he was born and raised in Rochester, by the way, and he currently lives in Greece, New York, with his wife and son, and he has one on the way. So it's great to have him here. He's been with Agape for I think almost 5 years now, and we'd like to welcome him now back to Seniors Rock Radio. How you doing, Nick?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back, guys.
Good, good. And Mike's here today, and he has, always he's the curious type, just like me. He's got some questions to start with.
Yeah. Hey, Nick, thanks and welcome back. Yeah. My first question is, what are the most common joint replacement areas that you see in physical therapy?
Yeah, the most common joint replacements that we see coming to the clinic are the total knee replacements, total hip replacements, and the total shoulder replacements. There are different variations of all of those, including partial joint replacement surgeries and reverse procedures in the shoulder, for example. But it all depends on the patient and several different factors that an orthopedic surgeon would have to consider with each patient. The procedures have come a really long way in recent history, and as well as our approach to how we treat them as physical therapists. So people are really starting physical therapy almost immediately post-op and beginning the road to recovery.
Yeah, and I've just the people that I know over the years who've had some form of joint replacement, just seeing even in the last 10 years, the development is amazing. And I know this is going to vary, but how long is the recovery now for these types of surgeries?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I'll give you a basic timeline for the most common procedures, but that is usually my disclaimer that everyone has different goals and different body types, and those factors can really extend or shorten a person's rehab recovery time. The
Sure.
individual that might be only interested in like regaining their ability to get up out of a chair or walk around their home, their recovery, especially at the end, is going to be a lot shorter and look differently than the person that's trying to maintain an active lifestyle and do yard work and hike and things like that. But in general, the hip replacements are going to differ based on the surgeon you choose and the preferred method. And in general, a hip replacement takes approximately 2 to 3 months from the date of surgery until you would get discharged from physical therapy. Historically, the most common type of hip replacement is the posterior approach or the backside of the hip. And this one, the surgeon has to cut through the glute muscles to get to the joint. So that makes the earlier phases of rehab a little bit tougher with range of motion restrictions and soft tissue healing and things of that nature. But in recent years, the anterior approach, or the front side of the hip, has become a lot more popular in the Rochester area. For this approach, they can avoid cutting through those glute muscles, so that really helps with avoiding the immediate range of motion restrictions and allowing people to get back on their feet to their daily tasks a little bit sooner. For the knees, I would say those are a little less predictable when it comes to timelines. Most people come into physical therapy between 3 to 6 months from date of surgery. Some individuals, unfortunately, struggle a little bit more early on with pain or swelling or even scar tissue and flexibility issues. And those things can definitely prolong the recovery process a little bit. And then lastly, the traditional shoulder replacement that we see, that surgery also comes with a 3 to 6 month recovery. That variance is more based upon patient goals, though. If somebody wants to just be able to grab their coffee mug out of the kitchen cabinet, they can achieve that in just a few months. But if they're trying to get back to playing pickleball again, then that's going to be closer to a 6 month recovery.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for explaining that. And it makes sense. Each operation or surgery is going to be a different recovery. And I am privy to know what physical therapy looks like after an operation. And I've had both hips replaced. And again, I know what it looks like. I know what it feels like. And when I went in, I didn't know anything about it. So would you help people to understand, Doctor or Nick, what physical therapy actually looks like? What do you start with? How do people, I guess, what happens when you get there? Tell them from the beginning.
Yeah. So the general tenets for all these operations is very similar. So when someone begins outpatient physical therapy, they may be coming straight from the operating room, a couple days later, or they may have had physical therapy come to their house and work on things at home for a week or two or even three. The earlier protective phase, when you come into outpatient physical therapy, is mostly focused on things like patient education, pain management, swelling control, as well as restoring range of motion in the joint. Joint
Okay.
operations
Hey,
tend to
Nick,
have range of
I'm
motion.
sorry to interrupt you
Yeah,
there, but here's the music playing. And so obviously, there's different methods for each person, each operation, but can PT avoid surgery? I mean, in a nutshell, can you tell us?
yeah, absolutely. I think it's an underutilized benefit of PT. People get really discouraged if they have knee pain and find out they have arthritis. But if they
Oh,
can
we're gonna
fix
have to
some of
go. I hate to cut you off. You know you'll come back,
that's all
but
right.
Agape has locations all over Rochester, folks. Check it out, agapephysicaltherapy.com. We use them. You'll love it. Recovery, wellness, performance, all start at Agape PT. Thanks so much, Doc. Well, hello and Macarena to you. Welcome back to Seniors Rock Radio. We're having some fun here today, but we're going to get serious because we are serious about health. And, I'm going to ask you something. Do you ever wonder if you are breathing the cleanest, freshest air possible? Because I was wondering that for quite a few years. And I know now that we weren't because we did get our air ducts cleaned. And if you are wondering the same thing, our next guest is someone you want to listen to. His name is Peter Gordon. He has been on before, and he's the founder and an indoor air quality specialist with Indoor Air Professionals. They cleaned our home and our air ducts, not our home. They didn't clean our home. They cleaned the air ducts, and I keep telling everybody about it. If you listen to the show again, you probably heard this. And I was privy from the guys that did the job here, Hector and the guys. They explained everything to me, uh, in the everything about the process. And I'm going to ask Peter in a minute to tell us a little bit more about it. But first, I want to say, hey, Peter, how are you?
Hey, I'm great, Joanna. Yeah, and once again, thanks so much for your another living testimony, one of nearly 70,000 residential customers that have noticed a big difference in some way or other. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. And it is a pleasure to give a testament about something that does affect your health. And again, that's what we talk about on the show all the time. But let's go back for a minute here. And again, I've been privy to hear all these things, but I would like to know if you could explain, Peter, to the listeners, how does indoor air professionals achieve better health in people through their duct cleaning as opposed to others? Because you know what, there's some scary stories out there, and I know you guys are the best, and even the Navy uses you. So explain what the difference is.
Yeah, and that's a great question, and there's a lot of things. So I'll try to be, quick and summarize this. But I'm going to say that, for the most part, duct cleaning starts out on the wrong foot because they sell equipment for $10,000 to $20,000, labeled as roto brush or a low volume air tool. Now, no one calls it low volume air, but those technologies for $10,000 to $20,000 only clean 40 to 50% of the contamination out of your ductwork because they miss the sides, the corners, the tops. If you have a two-story home, you've got things called riser stacks, and they're 2 inches by 10 inches, and the brush head won't even fit up there. So much of the system is missed, and we have proven it over and over again. As I mentioned, with the 70,000 homes, we've done 2,600 that have had the ducts cleaned before with this other technology. And in every case, we're pulling out a bushel of dirt that's left behind. We've been on the news 17 times showing the same thing there. But the biggest testament to me is that we're referred by over 100 heating and air conditioning contractors and other types of service contractors, and 28 of them used to be competitors. Like, they bought that other equipment, realized that they were ripping off their customers. Imagine losing a $4,000 furnace sale over a $900 duct cleaning. It doesn't make any business sense.
No.
Yeah.
Hey,
Peter,
I
this
wanted
is
to introduce you to my co-host here, Mike Robinson. And Peter, he was not on with last time you were here. So say hello.
Hey, Mike.
hey there.
Yeah, I
Hey,
love
Peter.
listening
Yeah,
to your show.
yeah, well, this is great information. A question for you. What else besides duct cleaning can people do to improve their air quality indoors, whether at home or at work?
All right, great question. So once again, our humble beginnings were 32 years ago, and we quickly learned that, hey, not everybody has forced air heating, but not always is the duct cleaning the end all, especially if people have special needs like sinus, allergies, asthma, or worse than that, compromised immune system. So we have researched the best air purification systems on the planet, and right now the leader, and it's been for years, is a product called Healthway, and we're an exclusive authorized dealer for the Rochester area and beyond. And they're 40 times more efficient than HEPA filters. So what does that mean? The micron-sized particles go from HEPA filters are 0.3 micron in size, and the BFS technology throughout the Healthway line goes down to 0.007 microns. So that is, 40 times more smaller particles it gets. And by the way, the virus particles are well smaller than 0.3. That's why the HEPA filters are not that effective.
All right, now he's going to start telling us that scary stuff about what's in there. And it is scary, folks. And you know what? But you just mentioned about the HEPA filters. There's another thing about that. You're saving money in the long run, right, Peter?
Oh,
What's the return on the investment there?
perfect. Yeah. So the way we look at it is that we are, when people get off of medication, inhalers for asthma, they stop getting shots for allergies. So some people get a return on investment from a thorough duct cleaning or a medical grade air purifier by Healthway in as little as 6 months. We know that medical costs, even with us folks, us seniors on Medicare, you still have to pay for your Part B, and some Part Bs will actually give you allowances for duct cleaning and these medical grade air purifiers.
Wow. All right. I know there's people out there. My friends have been asking me, are you still offering some discounts for the listeners if they'd like to try the duct cleaning or the medical grade air purifier? Please tell us quickly and tell us the number that they can call, Peter.
Absolutely. Okay, yes, we have what's called 20% off on the duct cleaning. It's the all-inclusive duct cleaning service. And all you got to do is call 585-427-8020. And I'm extension 303. That way, if you can't get to the phone today, by the way, I'm working till 6 p.m. because it's very busy this time of year and as we head into spring. But
Good.
also, you could get me tomorrow or during the week. So once again, it's 427-8020, extension 303.
20% off during the month of March. That is awesome because it's time to clean house, folks. It's almost spring. And is there any deals on the medical grade air
Oh,
purifier?
thanks so much for, I was just thinking about that. Yes. Okay, so there's two main air purifiers, one that covers 1,200 square feet, and that's $350 off. And then there is the whole
Whoa,
house Super V unit that is $500 off.
excellent. Say the number one more time and then we have to go to break.
Yeah. Perfect. 427-8020, and I am extension 303, and I'd love to educate you by sending you an email or mail or whatever you desire to learn more about how we can make you breathe easier, you and your family.
All right,
Awesome.
Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, thanks so much. Folks, hang on. When we come back from the break, Kate McBride is going to give us an advanced look at next week's St. Patrick's Day parade.
So when we say seniors rock, we mean it, right? With their rock music. Anyway, we love talking about things to do on the Seniors Rock Show. And one thing that we hold near and dear every year is the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And it's all about to happen next Saturday, March 16th, only 1 week away. And Kate McBride is here to tell us all about that and the highlights. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Joanna. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. What's happening?
Okay. Well, we are so excited about the top St. Patrick's Day Parade, which, as you just said, will be held next Saturday, March 16th in downtown Rochester. The parade steps off at 12:30 p.m. at the corner of East and Alexander. We have 100 entries. We have 2,000 marchers, 9 bands, 8 Irish dance schools, fire trucks, floats, and more. We even have horses and a Dixieland band at the very end of the parade. Our grand marshals
Woo!
this year are, yeah, I know, it's going to be great. Our grand marshals this year are Maureen McGuire and John Kutchko from Channel 8. There are lots of great places to watch the parade, Joanna. A lot of, the East End area is always popular where all the bars are, but also all the way down East Avenue at the Liberty Pole is a great place to watch. And a wonderful place for families is down at the Reviewing Stand, which is on Main Street, just west of the river, near the convention center. All the marching units are announced at the Reviewing Stand, and the bands and dance schools perform for the judges. So there's so much to see and do, and great places to watch the parade. We also have the Celtic Family Fair will be going on at our parade headquarters, the Hilton Garden Inn, which is at 155 East Main Street, and that'll be happening from 1 to 4. It's great fun for the kids. There's going to be a comedy variety show, face painting, Irish dancers. The Keystone Pipe Band will stop in and perform. It's a free event with donations accepted for Holy Childhood, and you can get lots of food and drink are available for purchase at the Hilton Garden. We start parade day with a beautiful mass at St. Mary's at 9 a.m. And then at 9:30, there's the Running of the Green presented by the YMCA of Greater Rochester and UR Medicine. It's a 5-mile race that starts at Parcel 5, and this is the 26th year of the race, so that's a great event. And then at 9:30, County Executive Adam Bello hosts the flag raising ceremony at the county office building. We'll have more Irish dancers and bagpipers. Everyone can meet our honorees, and we're going to raise all the Irish flags out in front of the building. So that's a great event too. Everybody wants to know about parking. A lot of city-owned garages will be free that day, and we'll have more information about parking on our website, which is rochesterparade.com, and on our Facebook page. And we just hope, Joanna, I know you've come to this for years, and you and John have been involved. We just hope everyone will come downtown next Saturday, March 16th, for the top St. Patrick's Day Parade. It's really Rochester's hometown parade, and it's a great way to celebrate our wonderful community, and everybody can be Irish for the day. So we hope everyone will
Absolutely.
come. I know, and I think we're getting
Thank
the
you,
rain out of
Kate.
the way now.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
The weather looks good. We're getting the rain out of the way today, and it looks like it's going to be in the 50s next week.
I was going to mention that. We were thinking on the same wavelength there. And thank you for, boy, you nailed it. And I don't know how you get all of these things into one day, but it is a wonderful time, folks. So listen to Kate. Go downtown next Saturday on the 16th and check out the parade. We'll be there. We'll see you then, Kate. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, thank you very much, Joanna. Take care. See you next week.
You,
Bye-bye.
you too. So this is going to be fun. It's going to be a great weekend next weekend. I can't wait. It's always just everyone's so happy at the parade. And I'm happy to say welcome to a new show sponsor, Mike. We've got someone called Lauren Getz, and you might know her if you're in the Grape organization. She owns Everyday Hands, and she's a new show sponsor. It's a local woman-owned business, and she's given back to the community with her team. And she's she does some really interesting things. It's a unique business, and Everyday Hands can do everyday tasks for you, for a loved one, or a client. And they do things like grocery shopping, organizing, garage sale stuff. It's things that that you really need some help with, and they are there to do it. So we'll talk more about them in the next couple of weeks. And I just want to say thanks to all the sponsors that are here. And I'm looking forward to this weekend, Mike. We're going to see the little guys. What about you? Are you going to have some fun?
Going to have some fun. Going to get out and do a little bit of hiking, take advantage of tomorrow's weather. And I just wanted to say I do know Lauren, and yeah, she's got a great business, very helpful stuff. So. But yeah, otherwise it's just, typical weekend stuff, get some chores done around the house and try to stay dry.
So did you get in that boat last week you were talking about?
Yeah, boy, I could have, I'll tell you. We certainly had enough rain. But again, thanks for listening, folks, and be well and be kind.
And I'm going to add one thing that I always say at the end of the show. Thank you to everybody for joining us. Come back next week, and don't ever forget, Seniors Rock.
Of opinions.